Hi, Liron here, and in this episode of Painting Masters, we're gonna feature works by Poppy Balser. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know one of the things I really try and develop in my work is simplicity. How can I get a realistic impression using fewer details, not overburdening and overcrowding the painting with lots of details, and allowing the viewer to kind of breathe into the painting. And this is why I chose to feature Poppy today, because her art is the hallmark of what I mean by that. Is that the right way of saying it? I hope it is. She is a Canadian watercolor painter. She, I believe, defines herself as a plein air painter, and she does a lot of seascapes and scenes with boats and seashores and beaches, and it's just beautiful. Her work is really the epitome of what I'm aiming towards in terms of simplicity. I have a bit of a different style. I push the contrasts a little bit more, and I think I aim for a less stylized and more realistic look, but I do think there's a lot to learn from her stylization. And she's a very well renowned artist. She won multiple awards, and I definitely recommend you check out her work. So with that being said, let's start looking at her paintings. So here's the deal. She had so many paintings I wanted to review, so I put them all in, and we're just going to spend less time on each and every one. So I just want to start with this. Her magic really is in the simplicity, and it's what I'm trying to get to with my work, preserving that realistic impression but keeping it simple. And this is the perfect example. And some of her other works you'll see are a little simpler, may seem a little sketchier, but I can immediately tell when someone is skilled. And then you see this type of work and you go, wow, okay, so this person really knows what they're doing. And it's both on the basics of the composition of the scene and a good sense of place and conveying the message, and the way it's arranged here to the landscape orientation is brilliant. And also just the technical control, because notice how well executed are the washes here. Everything is so even, and there's nothing in excess, nothing. And I'm going to repeat this a lot throughout the video. And a common theme with her paintings is that you can tell they were done really in one go a la prima, because many of them were done, in fact, plein air. And there you have to be fast, you have to be quick. So it's like one wash, let it dry, and then bam, you put in the rest in one go. The mid values and darks just go in together. And it's a skill. It's a real skill of knowing how to do that and how to create that beautiful realistic impression while doing that. Here is, I think, one of the most realistic paintings of her. Like if you take a few steps back from the scene, or alternatively, if we zoom out a bit, it almost looks like a photo, and it's really, really beautiful. I do think her style is accompanied by some stylization, granted, like everyone's style. I think I will aim with my style for a little less stylization. And I'm going to show you, by the way, later on an oil work of her, and you'll see how skilled she is, no matter the medium, because she understands the basics of good painting execution. So here's another one, a very simple landscape. The more common type you'll see that beginners practice on, but her execution is perfect, and that glow on the water is so beautiful. I love these kinds of scenes, very rich colors as well. The oranges here play a very important role. Here's another beautiful one. Notice the details on the ripples in the water. This is spectacular. She got in all the details. This is, I would assume it's based on photo reference, but if it's not, it's even more impressive. And it seems she's using a lot of granulating colors here, like French ultramarine. I think you can see it in many paintings. And notice how real everything looks here, really, even though it's quite simplistic. And it feels fresh, which I love. Here's another scene, and with these, it's so easy for me personally to mess them up. But she is able to do everything really simply. Her skies remind me of, I think, Edward Wesson and also Edward Seago. They had a way of approaching these types of subjects in a very simplistic, straightforward manner, and you can see it in her work as well. And you can see that the sky dried unevenly to some extent, but this may have been deliberate to convey that mist that is caused by the water hitting the rocks. And it's just beautiful, beautiful work. Here's another one, very original in my opinion, the way she approached this one. You can see the tree here, and it's very glowing. It's glowing very strongly because of the light coming in from the back. And it's funny because backlight, or what you'd say painting into the light, usually it tends to provide a feeling of darkening things. But if it's a very thin object like a tree trunk, the light may pour through from around a tree trunk. It's actually a thing that happens, and it will feel like it lights it up, like in this example, and especially near the edges. So you see she went very yellowy near the edges, and it's a beautiful effect. And the yellows and oranges look great together with these blue in the foreground, which works really, really well. Here's another one, so simple, just one go. You see here the background. This may have been done, by the way, in a sketchbook like a moleskin or something like that, because it does seem like there was a sense of urgency. And let me tell you how I can see that with the way this rounds up here. It seems like this was done rather fast, okay? So you can see here she painted very fast, and she didn't complete the horizon line in a way that's congruent, which is fine. It's just beautiful. Let's zoom out a bit. There's the gleam on the water, there's the boat, and it looks great. I think another person would have done this more justice, but such a beautiful work, and it shows you how you can achieve a lot with, there aren't even too many serious darks here. The only darks are this, which may be a person, this line, this line. This is pretty much it. All the rest is light and mid values, and it still looks beautiful. Another one, a night scene, which I love because night scenes are something I'm still not that accustomed to. And the beautiful thing about it is she didn't darken it that much, but that light over here and over there kind of conveys that it is night, and the water, the way they're a bit darker, and the sky as well. So beautiful and so simplistic. Once again, it's so easy to look at this and think, this is simple, I can do this. And then when you try, you figure out it's not as easy, and it actually is hard to do this in a simple manner. So here, I promised I'd show you some oil work, and you can see cross medium. When she uses a different painting medium, she seems to be very well seasoned with oils as well. Let me zoom in a bit. And I love the individual brush marks. I love that. It's one of my favorite things really in oil type of impressionism. In watercolor, it feels a bit overworked when you actually use individual marks, because the medium is all about being fluid and blended together. But with oils, I absolutely love that look, and the way it starts blue here with the sail and then gets a little yellower. She is very, very skilled in the basics, and this is the idea of composition, color harmony, drawing, which do cross all mediums. Next up, we have, again, one of my favorites, I would say. This is one of the more realistic examples as well. A bit stylized, yep, but which is, I think, why I have Joseph Zbukvic somewhere at the top, because his work is, of course, everyone's work is a bit stylized, but his work feels more realistic even to me, which is what I love. But I do have to commend her ability of keeping it simple. It's such a rare skill, and you can really see it here. It's very simple, in a good way, in the best way possible. Everything works, and you don't have to... On the one hand, it is impressionistic, so you do have to step in and complete some of the details. But on the other hand, it's fun doing that because it doesn't throw up on you like some of the paintings I do sometimes. It's overworked, and then you notice it. Perfect. Another one, beautiful snowy road, a car, and you can tell a lot by just a few details. Maybe it's going a little downwards and it's next to a beach or a river or a lake, probably, and it looks amazing. This one, also a very realistic impression. If you look at it from afar, you take a few steps back, but notice how she's not scared, and this, I have that from time to time. She's not scared to fill in an area in a rather flat way. So just a bit of color variation, but the value is very flat. There isn't a gradual change from dark to light. And she just does it, and it looks great, actually. Even she even got this car here next to the dock. Probably, this is the way to the boats, and then there's a little small office here at the top. And the reflections here, how she got them very simplistically, and here as well. It works great, and it looks great. Let's zoom in just a bit to get the full extent of that impression. So, so beautiful. I do love when there's a bit more color variation and a bit less, and more simplicity in the color selection. Let's say fewer colors, but still. These scenes are so easy to mess up because of the water and the way they hit against the rocks, and you get these nice little misty splashes of water, and she does a great job at it. I think she truly mastered painting water, especially plein air, which is a big challenge always. Notice you can feel the sense of waves, even though this one is a rather quick sketch. Here you can even better feel it, and I think the way she combines those blues and the oranges is beautiful. And let's see, cools and warms. And she does kind of an opposite thing in which she goes with the warmer colors in the distance and then the cooler colors in the foreground, which is very interesting. And it shows you that it can work, you know. You don't have to always strictly warm the foreground. It's not the case at all. Let's see what else we have here. Some more waves crashing against the rocks. And nothing is overworked. Once again, all of this was done in pretty much 1 or 2 layers and done, which is beautiful. Here, I love this one, like the beach scene. And if we zoom out just a bit, it's so beautiful with the background here and all of the people. And the touches of color she's using work really well together. So you have a baseline of this kind of grayish yellow, and then some touches of red into it and some touches of orange, but then also some blues, which work really, really well in my opinion. And it's not just beautiful, pretty colors, it's real colors that you'd see in the real world. It's muted, some of them. This one actually really reminds me of Shari Blaukopf's work, which I also reviewed in another episode. So you may want to check that out. Shari Blaukopf. I may put a link somewhere in the top corner or something. You want to check it out if you like Poppy Balser's style. This is more of a happy scene, more saturated, but still it's beautiful, and it has a good sense of realism to it due to the light and shadow. Next up, some more waves crashing against rocks. Beautiful. I wanted to show you something a little different. So flowers, and I wouldn't say photorealistic, definitely not a lot of stylization, but quite realistic looking. If you, zoomed out a little too far. I don't know what happens with my Mac recently, but you can see it looks really good. And the background, getting the background in one go really fast like that is such a challenge. Let's see what else here. Again, magic in the simplicity. This may be like a dock or just an arm of land reaching into the ocean, and there are people in it. I can tell all of that by literally 0 details. Then we have all of these beautiful rocks with lots of dry brush work to convey maybe that they're a little wet, a little sparkly, and they have jagged edges as well. Here's another really different one, but you can tell how she has a really good sense of light and shadow. So she painted this flower. Let's see what else we have here. And I think this is the last one. Yeah, we're going to wrap up with this one. And this has, again, quite a realistic feel to it. The sky has a bit of details in them that are a little stylized, in the clouds and everything. But if you look at the boats and their shadows, they look so darn good. And especially if I'm going to zoom out a bit, they look kind of like a photo if you look at them from afar. A photo that has the saturation cranked up really high. And it's lovely. I wonder how she preserves her highlights in these examples. It could be opaque paint, actually, because it does look a bit like that, and very careful working with a ruler. Or it could be just masking fluid, or probably masking tape, if anything, like a strip of paint, tape, but who knows? But it is beautiful. And she does have a couple of processes on YouTube, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment, that I think you should check out. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm going to definitely try and incorporate some of that into my work. Magic and simplicity. I'll probably do some studies of her work and really try to figure out how she approaches a reference. And I'll probably check out some of her videos as well. So thank you so much, and I will wrap it up. So this is it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. And again, this is something I'm going to be striving towards, trying to simplify my impression. And a lot of it comes down to simplifying your own work process, because when you simplify the work process and you know, okay, I have to paint this background behind the ship, and then I'm going to add the water, and then I'm going to add the shadows. Something about learning how to manipulate a reference into a painting is something I am trying to learn how to better do, because right now my approach is pretty much intuitive. I go with what I know and with my experience, but I think there's a lot more of experience to be built in that area. Now, Poppy, luckily enough, has a YouTube channel in which you can see some processes. So I will link it down below. In the description box, you've seen snippets in the introduction of this video, so I will link down everything in the description box. I highly recommend you check it out. And that's it. I want to thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, because that really helps in telling YouTube to show it to more people. And I'm still trying to grow my channel significantly. I want it to be as big as it can. Now, also, don't forget to subscribe, and especially if this is somehow the first video of me that you see. Now, if you're a seasoned viewer and you're a seasoned subscriber, I want to thank you so much. And if you're new, I have tons of other episodes of the Paint Show and lots of painting processes and lots of things of that nature. So I want to thank you so much. I will see you again in another vid real soon.